In the year 2000, in America, an organization set up in the 90s by the people who controlled and control the Bush administration this last 8 years was set up. It was called the Project for the New American Century, and it was created by people who have since become known as neocons or neoconservatives. September 2000 they published this, and it was called Rebuilding America's Defenses, Strategies, Forces and Resources for a New Century. This is what it said. I'll come to that. These are three main people who were in the creation of the Project for the New American Century. Dick Cheney, Vice President, more power than the President. Donald Rumsfeld, Defense Secretary at the time of 9/11 and the invasion of Iraq. Paul Wolfowitz, Defense Deputy Secretary at the same time. 1 year after that document was published, 9 months after the people that wrote it came to power in the Bush administration, America had what Bush described at the time as our Pearl Harbor. And everything that has happened since 9/11, that has unfolded off the pages of that document quite demonstrably, has been justified by 9/11. Even academics that rubbished it to start with are saying the official story doesn't make sense. You've got pilot organizations that are saying, pilots against 9/11 and stuff, who are saying there's no way those people who couldn't fly Cessnas could do what they did with those planes. Endless people now. There are engineers organizations against 9/11 who are pointing out that those buildings could never have collapsed as they did because of fire and steel. But no one investigates it.
So when those towers went down, it doesn't matter whether it was actually terrorists or who did it, how it happened, why it happened. It happened. It happened. It inevitably happened. It was the nerve center, the pineal gland of the technosphere was taken out.
And the technosphere has to evolve if the planet's going to survive.
Well,
it has to evolve into back into harmony.
It has to evolve back, and so that point there, that puncture, that was a big puncturing of the technosphere. So now there's a lot of retrograde, regressive action to try to maintain it, but it's not going to hold because the biosphere is in danger, the global warming, everything else. So what you're seeing is like the technosphere is slowly going to be coming down. It's not pretty, but it's coming down because it's not the truth. It's not natural. It's not the truth. It exists at the expense of the biosphere. It exists at the expense of the Amazonian rainforest. It exists at the expense of the different species and everything. Right. So it's inevitable. It's coming down. That's why it's called. This is why this is called the end time. And it's coming down because we're headed to 2012. So the point is that okay, we have to just say, hey, it's coming down. No matter how many flags you fly, it's still coming down. So we're saying, instead of flying flags, let's see what else we can do. Let's see if we can do something about it. And the Mayan prophecies say, yes, you can do something about it. Just change your timing frequency. Get back with the big universal evolutionary program. You just took a big detour from evolutionary mainstream. You caused yourself a lot of suffering. And some people might be well off from this, but a lot of other people are suffering more and more every day, and you're playing with very dangerous toys to protect a crumbling facade.
Well, I think that we do create our own realities, and to boil it down to a simple decision, it's great to be informed about what's really going on, first of all, and that must be said. But we can't succumb to the fear-mongering tactics that are being tossed around, because we can succumb to fear and close up, but really what needs to happen so that we can create a good reality is to open up to the real possibilities. In other words, to open up and be guided by what we might call higher principles or a higher vision of the future. So instead of being consumed with reacting in fear or combating all the crap that the controllers are trying to throw at us, somehow we need to transcend that and open up our minds to the highest possible future and then create that together.
It is important to remember that your consciousness has more power than any wave that could ever be beamed at you. So if you ever start worrying about electromagnetic mind control or all these silly things that people get focused on, that's something that you don't need to worry about.
Then one of the things that I'm most proud of is to have come up with the phrase problem, reaction, solution to describe the most used and the most powerful method of mass mind and emotional manipulation that has been used on us to advance this agenda. It used to be called the Hegelian dialectic, and I thought problem, reaction, solution would sum it up more succinctly. What it means is that you want to change society in a way that if you did it openly and had a meeting and said, right, well, tell the public this is what we're going to do, you know that you would get a massive public reaction against what you want. So you don't do it openly. You play this technique. Stage one, you create a problem. It could be a terrorist attack, it could be a war, it could be a government collapse, it could be a run on a currency, it could be a credit crunch, rising food prices, rising mortgages. Anything that will give you the opportunity to install the solution to that problem that will advance your agenda. Once you've covertly created the problem, you then tell the people through a pathetic mainstream media the version of that problem that you want the public to believe, i.e. Bin Laden orchestrated 9/11, Lee Harvey Oswald killed Kennedy, whatever. If we had a journalistic profession, even just in any way justifying the name, problem, reaction, solution fall down, because the explanation would be investigated, it would be fined to be wanting, it would be reported to the people, this would collapse. Because we don't have a journalistic profession worthy of the name, the problem is created. The cover story of the problem is then reported to the people as official history, uninvestigated, and what they're looking for at stage two is a reaction from the public that says, in effect, something must be done, what are they going to do about it? Fear, outrage, do something.